So hello guys, welcome to this week's video. Um, Today we're going to talk about the useEffect hook, and I'm going to demonstrate in two particular areas, and that is how you can use the useEffect hook to replace the lifecycle hooks, and also to use it to perform cleanup. So as you can see, the useEffect hook lets you perform side effects on functional components. Functional components on their own cannot do those particular tasks, but using hooks, it gives them those abilities. As you can see here, the React team has noted that, gave us a tip that you can always think of useEffect as replacements for component did mount, component did update, and component will unmount. So you can think of it as when did mount is do something as soon as the React component is created or mounted to the DOM, or when it will unmount. So this is where you perform the cleanup. With regards to component did update, we can redo the side effect whenever a component that the side effect depends on is updated. So let's continue. Let me show you the app that we will be building, or that I have built already. So this particular app, what it does is, so it shows content. So in this show content, what you do is it first of all, there's a count. I'll demonstrate why this one is important later. So it just counts from 0 to whichever number you want, and also the fetch. So what fetch does, it fetches paragraphs from a JSON API. So if I click it, it will populate it. So as you can see here, it has made the get request. So yeah. So let me show you the components that are responsible for this. So the components that is displaying this portion below the line here. So the fetch and the count. This is the component that handles it. It's just a basic component where it's there's two buttons that this one performs the fetch, and the button below it performs it increments the counter, and here is where the paragraphs are listed. So this one is simple, just increases the count, but this one in particular is what that performs the fetch. So as you can see, it just it fetches from this particular API. It fetches 4 items over here, and if the response is okay, that's when it updates the paragraphs. So yeah, so here is what it does. This is what the app does. So if I can take it to the other one, here is where this one handles hiding the component and shows it again. So as you can see, everything has been reset. It has been reset because this component was unmounted, and since it was unmounted, a lot of the data just was lost. And so if you want to increase the count, you have to do it again. If you want to perform a fetch, it does the fetch again. As you can see, another get request has been performed. So yeah, so this particular one does the things, but we'll be mainly focusing on this particular component. So so to demonstrate this the useEffect hook, so let's assume that, let's say your this particular app needs to be updated such that if when it is currently it's hidden, when they click show, it automatically goes and fetches the paragraphs and populates it. So the normal thing you would do is the immediate thing that you think you should do is just do like a fetch paragraphs, and it should do that. But now the problem is, as you can see, a lot of requests are being done. So let us just comment that out. So that's actually not a solution, and the reason why that happens is because whenever this is when this component is mounted, the fetch is done almost immediately, and it goes and does the fetch, and it goes updates the paragraphs. Now the component recognizes that this has been updated, so it re-renders the particular component. And since it re-renders, everything in the function is rerun. So this one is rerun again. So it's just an infinite loop. But you can there is a way you can do it. If we do like an if statement and says if paragraphs, if it was already set. So let us see if that one is will do what we want it to do. So if we click show, yeah, so it rendered four times, which is obviously better than the infinite. Why it renders 4 off the top of my head, I can't figure out why it fired 4 times, but 4 times is better than infinite. There's also the issue of, let's say for example, if we add some other functionality, that let's say we are fetching a list of messages. Let's say you are creating an app that use that like a real-time messaging application. Let's say for example, let's think of it. Let's think of 3 clients. So let's say client 1 is using this application. So when client 2 and client 3 update their messages, whenever we do a fetch, it should whenever I do a fetch, or actually the more appropriate way of doing it is using WebSockets. Whenever those messages are fetched, they should be updated. Now the problem is if we are doing the fetch only when the messages are 0. Whenever, let's say for example, the first time they will get the first time those messages will be sent, but subsequent times it will not be fetched. So this method of using the if will not is not robust enough. The other issue also is this method does not lend itself to, let's say for example, we want to get more than 4 messages, and we need to, let's say for example, let's just convert this into template string, and here's where we're going to use the count that I had mentioned earlier. So for example, so let's do, the count is 0, so let's update it to 1, and then let's fetch. So as you can see, it will only fetch to 1. If we increase it to 2, it will fetch 2. So it won't know that count has increased because we're only doing paragraphs, the paragraphs. And the fact that we're actually going all these to this extent, trying to create like more sophisticated if statements, that this should tell us that there's a better way of handling this issue. As you can see, useEffect, using the useEffect function, in the callback you actually do some tasks over here. In the return statement, that's where you do your cleanup. You return a function that does cleanup. And then dependencies is where you list the things that useEffect depends on. So if any of the dependencies change, this callback should be run. So let me start now demonstrate that. So as you can immediately see, the fetch is done immediately, and as you can see, it's only one request. Another thing that we have demonstrated is what if we want the fetch to be updated whenever count is increased. So let's demonstrate that. So in the list of dependencies, we can write count as a dependency. So as you can see, by default it fetches 1. Let's see. It fetches 1. If we increase it, it will also fetch 1. Increase it to 2, it will fetch 2. Increase it to 3, it will fetch 3. Increase it to 4, and so on and so on. So as you can see, useEffect. So as you can see, as we have demonstrated, useEffect can replace component did mount and component did update. Now, using like fetch request, I can't think of a way that to perform some kind of cleanup. But a common way to perform cleanup is when you are using tools such as RxJS. If you have used it, you can know that you always need to remember that you need to unsubscribe from an event when, let's say, the component that is using that observable is about to be destroyed. Otherwise, if you don't do that, that callback that you passed into the observable when you're subscribing will kind of stay alive even long after the component has been destroyed. So to demonstrate this, I created a class called paragraph provider, and it uses the RxJS, particularly the observable class and the behavior subject. You don't need to know how this one works. Just know that whenever we perform the get paragraph, we call the get paragraph, it will execute this fetch, the same fetch that we did here in the demo, without this other parameter. So let me do the refactor. So as you can see, it does the same thing. Actually, I have an idea. To demonstrate that if we don't unsubscribe, this particular function paragraph, say if you can see this callback. Actually, I have an idea. Let me demonstrate something. Currently this won't be called back because each time we are creating a different paragraph provider, that means the subject behavioral subject class will be different. So what I'll do, let me refactor this so that it returns a singleton or each time. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate that even after we have destroyed this component, this particular callback will still exist. So if we do this, it will be called twice. Why twice? Let's see. Using a behavioral subject, they usually an initial value that is sent to all subscribers. In this case, it will be an empty array. That's when it is fired first, and then the second one will actually be when it contains the actual stuff. So to demonstrate this, what I can do is can pass the paragraphs. So let's see. So it's the empty array, and then the one that actually contains the data. So yeah. So that's why it's being called more than called twice. Okay, so let me demonstrate again. So if the first one, it will be given the initial value along with the next value when the fetch is done. As you can see, it will be called one time, and as you can see, it added to this one, and then plus these two, so it will be 3. And then as you can see, it was called 4 times. It's called 5 times because it's 4 plus there was an extra one over here. 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. So if you are not careful, especially if your application uses a lot of observables, this number can pile up really quickly. So to show you how to do that using a teardown function, I'll show you how to solve this issue using useEffect, using the cleanup function. Usually, whenever you subscribe to something, you are given a subscription object. Now, in the cleanup function, return, call it cleanup. You can call it. You can actually call it. You can actually just return an anonymous arrow function over here. but I wanted to name it cleanup so that it will be clear for the tutorial. So here the only thing we just need to call is the subscription. So we need to call unsubscribe, and with that, that problem will actually be solved. So let me restart it. So should show 2 of them, and then when I hide it, it should only increase by, as you can see, like there were 2, and then 1 was here, and then a blank one. This one is 1, so those are 2. Again 2. As you can see, it never goes past 2. If I what's it called again? If I even decide to let me even make it even more clear. Just be patient a bit. I'm going to turn this into a regular subject. If we make it a regular subject, it should actually return just 1. So as you can see, only 1. And if I show it again, just 1. As you can see, it's just only 1, as opposed to the previous one where if we had let's comment out this one, as opposed to like the previous one where the problem just started escalating. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can see, it just keeps escalating. So that shows you how to use the clear function. So yeah, so as you can see now, the function now works properly. You could also make it more fancier by making it react to the count, but I think that's enough for today. So as you can see, we have shown how to replace this particular lifecycle hooks with useEffect. So I hope now you can code with more confidence, and yeah. So I think that's it for today. Hopefully see you next week.